Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you a game played between Max Euwe and Geza Maroczy in 1921. If you don't know about Max Euwe is the fifth world chess champion and he's also the former president of the FIDE. And FIDE is the International Chess Federation. And if you look at Geza Maroczy is the Hungarian chess player and one of the world's first grandmasters. And there is also uh, opening setup or opening theory named after Maroczy. If you're a Sicilian player, you may know that, where white puts their pawn on e4 and c4 and controls the d5 square by clamping down the d5 square with the e and c pawns. Black, it's difficult for black to achieve the d5 pawn break in the Sicilian defense, which is very classical. So it's named after Geza Maroczy. So yeah, that's the backdrop between this game. And the game started with 4 e6, the French defense, d4 d5, knight to c3, the classical variation of the French defense, knight to f6, bishop to g5, pinning the knight to the queen. As you can see, black counterpins our knight, that's the white's knight. This is known as the McCutcheon variation of the French defense. White plays the move e5, hitting the knight. Black plays h6, counter-attacking our bishop, and white drops the bishop back, and black trades, and white recaptures. And this pawn structure is good in my opinion because the bishop can be placed in d3 and bishop can be placed in d2. Later the knight can be developed to f3, and these pieces will be very helpful in a devastating kingside attack later in the game. So knight to e4 is played by black, queen to g4, going after the g7 pawn and destroying black's king side, and the rook has to move to f8, and black will be losing their right to castle. So what black does is black plays the move g6, stopping the queen from entering the king side, and white plays the move h4, and now this g6 pawn is a hook. So in future ideas we can go h5 and uh, hit that g6 pawn and try to open up the position. And another idea for h4 is controlling the g5 square from any black pieces to be getting placed over there, or even a potential kingside expansion in the future. Okay. c5 is played by black, striking the center. Bishop to d3, hitting the knight, threatening to take. And when black takes with the pawn, queen takes e4, wins a pawn. So black takes then a bishop, uh, white recaptures, and queen to a5. This queen to a5 pins the c3 pawn so that when black plays c takes d4, white cannot recapture because it will be a check. But white can actually take with the queen. But the thing with taking with the queen is this e5 pawn is pretty weak and it's too advanced. But it does a good job restricting the black's position. So in this position, white played the move rook h3. This is an aggressive move. This is known as rook lift. Lifting the rook up and placing the rook in maybe in the f file or maybe in the g file, and trying to launch the rook for a devastating attack on the king side. So black takes, but if you look closer at the position, this these two pawns are pretty weak. So with that hint, feel free to pause the video and try to find what Max Euwe played. Take your own time. Congratulations if you have sacrificed your bishop. Bishop takes g6. The idea is black cannot accept the bishop, because if he does so, queen takes g6 check. No matter wherever the king goes above, let's say the king goes there, that is queen g7 check, forking the rook and winning the rook in the next move. And let's say king goes to d8. There is this check, winning the rook. And the king is also too weak. So the bishop cannot be actually accepted. So the queen goes back to c7 and white plays the move rook f3, bringing the lifted rook to join for a kingside attack. And now white is threatening to take bishop takes f7. And this shows an aggressive way to play against the French defense. And still, white cannot capture the bishop because queen enters with the check, and wherever the king moves, a rook enters the f7 square, hitting the queen and its destruction. So I cannot grab the bishop because of queen takes g6 check, and you can see how terrible black's position is. So rook to g8 is played, trying to pin the bishop so that the bishop cannot take. But in this position, white plays the move rook takes f7, not bishop takes f7. Rook takes f7, hitting the queen, also threatening potential discoveries on this king from this bishop once the rook moves. You may look at this and you may ask, okay, Sivaram, but there is one beautiful thing. What if rook takes g6? I grabbed a piece, and both of the queens are hanging. So maybe white should play rook takes e7, and after rook takes g4, white regains the piece. King has to move somewhere. Let's say king to e7 or d7, doesn't matter. Isn't this position better for black, or is it equal? You may ask. Okay, by looking at this, you can say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns, and white has 7 pawns. So I think white should be slightly better, but the g2 pawn is hanging, h4 is hanging, so I may be able to get one of the pawns back. I don't know what is the case. This position is plus 3.2 because look at these two pieces. They cannot move. What white is going to do is put h8, pressure this, most importantly pressure that, and those two pieces is not going to see the daylight anytime soon. And while black spins the rest of his moves trying to get those two pieces out somehow, maybe g6, king c7, king b7, trying to do all that, but even that doesn't work because of rook h7 check. Or maybe black can bring the rook back, blocking the checks. Am I drawing too many arrows? Tell me in the comments. If you cannot understand or if I'm going too fast, please let me know. So it's practically not possible for black to get into those positions. In the meantime, white can simply bring the rook, hit that, bring the knight, take everything and win the game easily. So that doesn't work actually. So in this position after rook takes f7, black plays the move queen takes c3 check, going after the king, and also getting the queen away from the attack of the rook, which is very important. King moves to e2, pawn to d3 check. You cannot take with the bishop because rook hangs. Rook hangs on f7, and you have to take with the pawn. C takes d3, and there's queen takes e5 check. King goes to f3. Actually, the king could have even gone to d2. It's okay, it's safe perfectly. But king goes to f3. And this is the critical mistake of the game. Because in this position, when the rook was on g8, any discovered attack can be met with rook takes g6 with a counter attack on the queen. Once the rook left the g file, now there is rook f5 discovered check hitting the queen, but actually the queen cannot be taken because this rook is pinned to the king. I hope you can see that clearly. The rook cannot move sideways because this rook is pinning. At the same time, we are delivering this check, and there is a seemingly potent attack on the queen, but the attack is actually on the rook. So the king can go to e7, defending the rook, but there is queen to b4 check, winning the rook anyway. So what black does is black goes king to d7 instead, and white captured the rook. And now white is upper rook, whole rook, and the position is completely winning. Black plays the move queen takes a1. You may say, Okay, now the material is equal, but it's not equal. Black is literally playing without two minor pieces and a rook. This bishop is blocked by its own king. This knight may see daylight by going to c6, and that rook is so pity, it cannot go anywhere. So yeah, that's it. So white plays the move rook f7 check, forcing the king to make a decision to either go forward or go to the back rank. The king goes to d8, and now the critical move, queen to b4, trying to infiltrate to e7 and checkmate. Knight blocks so that queen to e7, there's king c7 and king b8, escape route. So queen to d6 is played. Now this knight is pinned. The threat is to go rook f8, mate, because the king cannot go forward. That is queen. And the knight cannot grab the rook because of this pin. Is it clear to you? Great. So the queen has to go back so that in case rook f8, that is queen takes f8. Check. So the queen has to capture, and then the knight recaptures and white is down a rook. So knight to e2 is played. e5, restricting the movement of the knight. And actually the best move is knight c3, and the position is mate in 11, the stockfish says. But nobody cares about stockfish. Who knows over the board whether it's made in 11 or what. Max Euwe played the move knight to f4, sacrificing this knight voluntarily. And then the knight, there is nothing better for black to do in this position. So black accepts the sacrifice, and the idea is to go bishop to f5 and to grab that knight and eventually win the queen. So now the queen is lost, and the bishop cannot do anything. The bishop is pinned. The queen cannot move anywhere because it's a check. So the queen is pinned, the bishop is pinned. So white is literally suffocating black and wins the black's queen. And the best move is to maybe go b6 or something, and there is takes e8, king takes e8, and this position is completely winning. That's queen takes h6, and there are too many pawns to make a queen. So yeah, so after rook to f8, black resigned the game and Max is victorious. And if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to the channel, smash the like button, and share it to a friend. Thank you.